Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is your weekly update for Austin real estate investors for the week of the 12th of September, 2017. So this week was more about what we already have in place and what the marketplace tells us than what we really found out. When I say that, I mean there's been some interesting findings. We had a couple owners who wanted to lease their property with no pets, or at least there was a confusion about whether pets were allowed or not. And anytime you say no pets, what it does is it increases the vacancy time by about 50%. In Austin, almost half the population has pets, so if you say none, you're reducing your pool of potential tenants dramatically. So we have a 30-day guarantee, and if we are limited by no pets, it makes it a little challenging to get that property leased. Now, we did have a client who kind of called us out on this, and we went ahead and made the guarantee work for them, and we stood behind it. We may have to put a caveat in that, though, that if you have no pets, it's much harder to lease your property, especially if it's at a tough time of the year or things of that nature. Some of the other things we found out are what we already know, which is blue carpet doesn't really help a house lease. So we always tell people go with conservative colors, good paint. You have to have a house look like the general population would accept it. They don't have to love it, but they can't hate it. And if there's something that is significant and not conservative, they're going to pick it out. We've had at least 9 showings in this house. All of them have come back with feedback and said, why is the carpet blue? But yet the house is still sitting vacant. Let's say the rent on that house is $1,500 a month. After 30 days of vacancy, we still have blue carpet, and we've lost $1,500 plus utilities, holding costs, maintenance, everything else. So if the owner would have just simply changed the carpet out right at the start, we could have been way ahead of the game. Again, condition of the home is a really big deal. This goes for paint as well. We've got some properties where owners are refusing to do the paint correctly. Touching it up may make it look like a zebra, and it may be cheap, but it won't get your house leased. So we need fresh, good quality paint. Hopefully you're not having to do this every year, but if we use great Sherwin-Williams paint with a paint match guarantee, it's done by a quality vendor, it really should serve you year after year. So if the paint is not so great and it's spotty, expect the tenants to see that when they come to visit. And right now there's just too much selection on the market to choose one that they don't think is great versus one that is great. So you're really going to have to step up and make sure your game's at the top level and compete to get those tenants. The other thing is that we've had a couple properties where owners have bought the nicest house in the neighborhood, the biggest house in the neighborhood, or bought a cheap house and then put way too much money into it. Keep in mind that when you're living in the home, you're going to do some things like really spruce it up. You may gut the kitchen, you may do whatever you want, but if you spend $100,000 more to renovate that home than anyone else close to you in the neighborhood, tenants are still not going to pay for your renovations. The house could be great, but who wants to pay an extra $500 a month to live next door to someone who leaves cars parked in the front yard that they're working on the weekend, and wheels next to their house and the grass and things like that? So this week was really more about what's going on in the marketplace and what we can do than it was about exactly trends or this or that. In September, things tend to level out. We get a little bit of extra supply from the removal of some demand, and there's a little bit more selection out there for tenants. So if you are a landlord in Austin, you want to get your property leased, we say this over and over, but you've got to have conservative colors, great paint, good landscaping. Don't overspend when you buy a property, and don't expect a property that you overspent on to produce because you want it to. It's going to do what it does. That investment and the math behind it is independent of your feelings or my feelings. So if you need some help finding the best investment property in Austin, if you're an agent looking for some support to help your investors select a property, don't hesitate to reach out to us at 1836 Property Management. We're happy to support you anytime, even if it's just advice, recommendations, things of that nature. We're here for you. Again, really take your time when buying those properties. Buy the smaller house in the nice neighborhood. Make sure it's well maintained, and really don't buy something that you haven't driven the neighborhood on. That's probably the best rule of thumb for this weekly update. Make sure that your neighbors are really conducive, that it's safe. Look at crime stats, and that's going to help keep costs down as well. We've had some other incidents where the neighborhood was making it more difficult to lease the property than it needed to be for other options. So if we can help you in any way, don't hesitate to reach out to us, 512-994-4323 or 1836propertymanagement.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great week.